I'm here just outside the entrance to the Grand Canyon National Park in some free camping sites here. They are provided by the Kaibab National Forest. You can see all of them behind me. Really cool place to stay. There's lots of elk around. There's lots of coyotes around. Last night you could hear them, and this morning I got to watch a little chipmunk running around outside of the window. So that was super cool. What I'd like to do is in this video is to show our van, so to kind of show what it looks like, what it has in it. This might be quite useful for anybody who's thinking of getting a van like this. I've never really been inside of one of these until we had a look at buying them. So I actually didn't really know a lot of the stuff that's inside of there. I only learned it when we actually went inside and had a bit of a look. So I think it might be quite cool if you are thinking about buying a van like this. You might be interested in to see some of the stuff that is in there. So as you can see, it's really long. Not 100% sure how long it actually is, but somebody estimated that it could be 30 feet. I'm not 100% sure what that is in meters. And then the height, you can see that the air conditioning unit is sitting on top. So that's about 12 feet. And I think 12 feet is potentially about maybe 4 meters. Again, not 100% sure. I'm not going to learn the conversions too much. I'm only here for 3 months. So that's the length and the height. And of course, it's fairly wide as well. So this is, in the US, this is a bit of a medium size. But for us, like I said, driving it is a bit of a pain because it is so long, it's tall, it's wide, but living in it is actually really comfortable. Look from the front, this is what it looks like. It's only got 2 seats at the front, and then it's got a few seats at the back, which I can show a little bit later. You can see that the mirrors, they actually come out wider than the vehicle. And the reason why I mention that is because the first day that I started to drive this vehicle, I managed to smash one of the mirrors. So I had to get a new little fish eye mirror there. Because it sticks out so far, I actually hit it on something on the side of the road. So this mirror is extremely difficult to replace. So difficult. So if you know any tricks of how to find a mirror for an RV like this without having to buy the whole unit, which apparently costs about $300 American. So if you've got any tips for me on how to replace that, I'll be quite happy to hear it. So on the passenger side of the vehicle, this is what it looks like. We've got the door here. We have the awning. So unfortunately, our awning doesn't unroll. So up the top is a little mechanism inside that helps the awning to unroll and then to roll back up again. So that mechanism is broken. So at some point we'll have to just take out the inner bit, like right up the top, and then we might be able to sort of fix that ourselves. I don't think it'll be too difficult, but it's really tall. It's high up off the ground. The wheels, also another thing that is a little bit amusing. They're massive. There's the 2 at the front, obviously, but we actually have 4 wheels at the back, so 2 on either side. So changing those wheels would be horrific, which is why I've got roadside assistance so that somebody else can do it for me. Going along the passenger side, we've got an area for water. So we just unlock that one and we can chuck in a hose and fill that up. That fills up the tanks at the bottom. We have the cupboard here for LPG, which we fill up with propane. One here, this is the propane cupboard. It just gets unlocked. So this is quite different to what I was used to in Australia. In Australia, we had a little bottle that we could just kind of take into the fuel station or petrol station, and we could just swap it over. Whereas with this one, the bottle is actually attached to the vehicle. So you've got to take it to the petrol station, and they actually have a little hose connector. So that's what it looks like. we have the valve that goes into the vehicle. So if we turn that off, we'll turn off the propane going into the vehicle. This one here is where the hose connects into. So when we go to the fuel station, they have a connector, connect onto there, and they can fill it up. And you can see here, we've got a little meter to show us how much propane we have in the vehicle. Next to our propane, we have a little storage cupboard. You can see this one actually has a lock on it, so you can lock that one up. They're not huge, but you know, they're pretty cool. With our door, we have a little step down the bottom, so that's like a manual step. We just kind of pull it out. Here's our door. We have a few plugs on the outside if you want to plug anything outside. The back of the fridge. Our door comes with a fly screen, which is really useful when it starts to get warm. So going a little further back, these are those massive tires that I was talking about. So there's 2 of them on this side. And we have a really nice, massive cupboard here on the back, or a little storage area here on the back that goes all the way through to the other side. So we've got one side of it. This is our ladder to get onto the roof for any maintenance that you need to do on there. We have a backup camera, which is, I reckon, 100% necessary. Spare tire. And this is the other side of that cupboard that runs all the way through. This is the little cupboard on the back. Just open it up. There's a little latch on the side to hold the door open. You might be able to see all the way through to the other side. And in here, we just store, this is our hose to empty the grey water and the black water. And then we've got 2 other hoses. So the purple one is for flushing this hose out, and also cleaning up around the drainage area, so where we drain our black water. And then we have another hose that is just for fresh water. So these cupboards can probably also be used if you've got something longer, like 10 poles for your awning, or if you've got tents or those sorts of things. Maybe a surfboard can fit in here, I'm not too sure, but it's quite nice and long. So moving on, right underneath the fuel is the drainage area for the water. So again, we have this little latch just here that we can use to open up the door, and we can hold the door open just there. Inside here, so this is the area where we drain our water from. And this is such a cool setup. In Australia, we had a little cassette in our caravan. You had to pull the little cassette out, and you had to sort of empty that for your black water. And then the grey water did have a different system. So this one's really, really simple. You open up here by just turning it. And then there's a little bit of those little hose that I just showed you before, links onto there, and these pull out. So they just pull out, and then it releases the water that way. Very cool system. On the driver's side of the vehicle, and we have a couple more compartments along here. So this section here, this is our water and heating area. This is where the heat comes from. The Americans call this sort of section a furnace. So the actual furnace part of it, the machinery, is in that side, and then we've got a bit of wiring and hot water on this side. So these little bits here, those are the exhausts for that. We currently have a bit of a problem with the furnace. There's a fan inside of the furnace that's really loud, and it comes on automatically. If you set a thermostat inside, if it drops below, say, 10 degrees Celsius, it'll come on automatically. So sometimes at night, when it gets cold, it'll just kick on and it'll start squealing at midnight, and it's kind of horrible. So this one here is something that I kind of DIY'd fairly recently. You can plug a hose into your RV and then you can get water sort of straight from the tap, so you don't have to fill up your tank. Because filling up your tank, I think it takes 25 gallons and it empties pretty quickly. So if you have the ability to have a hose connected, you can connect it to here. So you can see there's a little thread inside of this, so you connect your hose on there. When we first bought this RV, this bit was leaking. So every time we filled up the tank and we turned on the little pump, this would leak. So I bought a new one. This was really easy to replace. It was about $30 for a new one. So there's 3 screws, took them out. You could just unscrew it and then screw the new one on. Really simple. So down underneath that hose connection and the hot water, we've got a bit more storage. Here we've got the park cable. So it does give you a bit of information on there about this cable. And this is for when you are pulled up somewhere where there is power. As you can see inside, that is the cable. And you simply unplug this bit and you pop it into the park power. We haven't used this yet because we haven't actually gone to any parks. So the last thing I'll talk about on the outside of the vehicle is also something that I've spent probably the most time with, just in terms of maintenance, is the generator. So the generator is actually built in to this RV, and I think a lot of RVs do have this. Like I said, this is the first time that I've really been in one of these RVs when I purchased it, because they're very expensive in Australia, whereas they're a lot cheaper here. So inside you've got the generator. Ours is called, it's an Onan. It's made by a brand called Cummins, and it's called a Microquiet 4000. So when I take off the little cover for it, this is what the interior of your the generator looks like. So down here we've actually got the start button, and the Onan is pretty good because it also has flashes. So if it needs to be serviced, it will flash. So when we first got the vehicle, it did do those flashes. We've got the oil. This bit here I have unfortunately become really familiar with recently. This is the carburetor. So I actually recently changed this one, and I'll talk a little bit about how that came to be. And so basically that is what your generator looks like, and it is just hooked into your car. The fuel for this, for R1, it comes from the big fuel tank, the car's fuel tank. So that's how that one works, and there's a on switch for it inside as well. Time for a tour of the inside of the RV. So this is kind of the living area here. You can see on the left hand side there is a couch. So that couch can hold, I think it's a 2-person couch. Underneath that couch there are 2 seat belts, so you can put the seat belts through and people can sit on there. Now this couch folds down and comes across, and then we can use this area here to make it into a full bed. So this is obviously, you've got seat, and sort of a eating or sitting area. And this table drops down and the cushions slide across. So what you can do is you can take this bit here and this couch here and make it to one big sleeping area. So directly above that is another sleeping area. So that can be a sleeping area for 2 people. There's a ladder here on the side, which can be used for that. But as you can see, we're using it for bike storage. So we were a little bit nervous about putting our bikes outside on like a hitch connector, because we'd have to have pretty serious security, because we park in a lot of free spaces, and some of them are just normal car parks. So it'll be easy for somebody to just come up and cut the chain or whatever's holding them and then take off with the bike. So we store them here inside. We've got some cabinets on both sides, as you can see there. So it's a little bit of storage, and there's a bit of storage underneath these seats as well. Part of the reason why we liked this setup of vehicle is because you can move from the driving area, which is at the front, straight into the living area at the back. So, you know, if anything's happens while you're sleeping, if someone tries to break in or anything like that, you can actually move from the back where the bed is straight into the driving area, and you can take off if you need to. This little section here between the two front seats that sort of juts out, because the front of the car is really short, like the little bonnet area, the engine area, part of the engine actually comes out into here, which is kind of not that convenient, because if you want to get into the engine, like spark plugs or anything like that, you have to actually remove this whole area here to get into it. So I luckily haven't gotten to that part just yet. So we'll see if I will have to remove it at some point. This little screen here, that's for the backup camera. Got a radio and some normal temperature controls just there. The passenger side, nothing too fancy, just the seating area. And on the driver's side here, we've got, I suspect that this is very American, but this is the gear stick. So the gear stick is actually on the side there. It is a automatic. I've never had a car like that before in Australia or New Zealand. And then the brake, the parking brake, it's a foot brake. And the lights are just a little switch on the side there. So that's sort of the front part of the vehicle. Moving on over to the kitchen area, we have our air conditioning unit up here at the top. Luckily, because we're here in winter, we haven't really had to use it much. It runs off the generator, or if you plug into park power, you can use it that way. We have some more cabinets and our microwave at the top. So that's got a little unit that actually holds it in there so it doesn't fall out while you're driving. It's quite useful. Again, runs with the generator or with park power. Extractor fan up the top. We've got our oven and our stove run by propane. So it's got a little travel cover, as you can see just here. So when we need to use it, we just open it up and you've got the burners on top there. Couple of cabinets. Down the bottom, this little circular thing that you might see throughout the van, those are actually heating vents. So when the heater turns on, it vents through there. And then we have a carbon monoxide alarm or a gas leak detector, and that goes off constantly. So any whiff of gas, even if the car is running and the door is open, it will go off. It is quite painful. Sink, fed from the fresh water tank. And of course we have the pump that pumps the water through to this tap. There's hot and cold water. So obviously the hot water just uses propane. And you have to wait a little bit for the hot water to come on. Our freezer up the top here. And then our fridge down the bottom, all powered by propane. Very, very good fridge. Absolutely no problems. First time I've ever come across a propane powered fridge, so that was really cool. In the hallway, we have our control panel. So this control panel, as you can see, we've got, this is if the generator is on, there's a little light that comes up. We have the water pump, we can turn it on or off. Generator, on or off. Water heater. And then these switches here, quite useful. They can actually show you how much is in each thing. So it can show you how much grey water you've got, how much black water you've got. Actually, this sensor probably needs a bit of a clean, the black water that's not quite full. How much fresh water, how much battery, and how much propane, how much LPG. Dropping down just below this sink is where our fuses are. So these are all the fuses for the electrical components inside of the living area. So fuses up the top, and descriptions and guides in the inside of this panel. Moving along from the fridge that's just here, we have the shower, kind of little cubicle. This shower cubicle is really cool. It has a dome shape at the top, so it lets in lots of light and it gives you a little bit of extra height there. And then just a nice basic shower. You can have hot and cold water. Our shower, we actually just use it for storage. We usually just shower at campsites as we're driving around. It's a little bit easier, otherwise we have to continue to fill up our water tank and dump the grey water tank as well, because it fills up really quickly. And some places have got really cheap showers. They might charge you $1/4 to have a 5-minute shower. From there into the bedroom. So from the shower, we can go straight into the bedroom here. We've got a nice big double bed, really comfortable, with some storage down the bottom. So the bed just lifts up. Our blinds have got this really cool system where we can either have this type of blind where it just kind of stops people from being able to see in, but it still lets light in, or you can just pull it down and it turns into this, so it completely blocks out the light. That's really cool. Got some cabinets all around, and this one has got an extractor fan up the top. So if it gets pretty hot, we can actually just open the latch and turn on the extractor fan, and it takes some of the heat out of the room. If we switch around here, we can see on the wall there is the carbon monoxide alarm, and then this is where the heater is controlled from. So conveniently they put degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit on there. So we can set it to whatever we want. If we can set it here, at the moment it's at 10 degrees Celsius. So if it drops below 10 degrees Celsius, the heater automatically kicks on. So that's really quite useful, especially when you're, it's sleeping at night. It can keep it at a consistent temperature. As we travel from the bedroom back towards the front of the vehicle, we have here the toilet. So there's a little cabinet just behind there, and this is just a mirror. Then we've got our sink and a couple of power plugs. So the sink obviously comes from the freshwater tank. There's a cabinet beneath it, and then this is our toilet. So the toilet has its own sort of refuse tank. So when we flush the toilet, it goes straight into the black water tank. And underneath, I think this is so cool, there's a little heater, a heating vent by your feet, so you can keep your feet warm while you go to the toilet. The door for the toilet actually opens all the way across, and it can block off the other side of the caravan. So where the kitchen and all of that is, we can block that off with this door. So you can see if we open it, we can see straight into the front there. And if we need to, rather than using just that one door, there's also this little door here which blocks off only the bedroom. So if other people are sleeping in the front and they want to come in and use the toilet at night, we can close this off like this. But we are very rarely are we parked level enough. So if we're not parked level, this just slides open by itself. The little latch that holds it on is not that great. So that's the inside of the van. I'll talk a little bit more later about some other parts of the van, so like the water. I've had to do a little bit of work here, replacing some of the hoses, and the pump, and that is underneath this couch, but I'll make a separate video about that a bit later.